Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Hot Wall. Welcome to Phil's Corner Live, our streaming show. And this particular one has been going for several months, in fact, since the start of the year. And we're beginning to wrap up. We'll probably have, I think, maybe 2 more Hot Wall streams, give or take. We'll see how we get on today. But yeah, welcome to Andre. I don't know why your comment's not showing up on the screen there, but I can see a comment down here anyway. He says, the jersey is so cool. Thank you, Andre. I assume that's in relation to the Red Star shirt, which we are, of course, going to rank today. We're going to add the Red Star shirt to the wall. Will it go in the volcano tier? Not necessarily. We'll come on to it when we come on to rank it, but nonetheless, thank you, Andre. And great to see Brock as well. Says, welcome, Phil. Welcome, Brock. Welcome, everyone, to the Hot Wall. Been a little while since you did one of these. Of course, as the year does draw to a close, there are fewer and fewer new shirts coming out. So in some ways, I think we should hopefully be able to catch up today. In fact, as we're talking, I'm going to quickly bring up our reference site and we'll see how many shirts we've got left to do. But yeah, how are you doing? I hope you're well. Been a while since I did a stream, as I say, but yeah, hope you're well, guys. I think we've got possibly, so 3 pages of shirts. So yeah, we can definitely do that today. I'm also conscious there's been several moments in the year where shirts have been missed from the so I'll talk about slowly here from the Football Shed Culture, which the site we're using as a reference point for adding to the wall. So with that in mind, I know there's the Basel shirts which I need to rank, and there was another one which I forgot now off the top of my head. But obviously, as we go through, please, if there's any we haven't ranked, do give me a shout, and we'll do those as well today. But yeah, Andre says, I literally finished watching your rest already and you went live. Great stuff, Andre. If you haven't already, do subscribe, mate. If you're already a subscriber, that's great. But yeah, just as a reminder for those who are tuning in for the first time, or maybe this is your 7th, 8th, etc. time, but you've not subscribed, do subscribe, guys. It does help the channel a lot. And yeah, you can also leave a like if you enjoy the video. Brock saying that he's picked up a Providence City shirt, one of the donut shirts. I love those donut shirts. I've just got 2 Providence City shirts in my own collection, the Hammerhead Shark one and the donut one. They're 2 really, really fun designs. But yeah, as I say, we've got shirts to rank. Let's get to it straight away. And yeah, any questions along the way, guys? As always, do leave a comment in the chat. I will do my best to answer them. So, just as we start, I'll just get my setup ready. I believe we're picking up with the Dinamo Zagreb shot here. Now I'm just looking, and this is always, every time, no matter how many times I do this, I forget to actually make a note of the shirts that are left. Oh, sorry, that we left at. So I think, as I just review here, and again, there's so many layers on this file that unfortunately it's a bit slow. And I actually haven't checked how big this file size is. It's definitely not very practical. So we've got, what's that here? Okay, that's weird. Part of a shirt there, it seems. Again, apologise for the lack of professionalism here. Oh no, we did do the Zagreb one last time, it seems. So then we must be picking up with, yeah, I don't remember doing this shirt. So let's go here. I think this is where we left off last time. If I'm wrong, I do apologise, but I think based on this, because we've also got, I can see here, yeah, again, looking at our layers. Cool. Let's go from CA Juventus, and we'll roll on. Boxes, can you rank the Real Monarchs 2022 home shirt? I'm curious on your thoughts on it. Real Monarchs are our sort of like second team. Brock, that sounds good. Come back to me as we pick up when we get to when we catch up, which won't take long, hopefully, to the latest releases. We'll do that. We'll do the Basel kits, and I'm sure there was another one which I've forgotten, but we'll come to that. I might have made a note actually. If not, it's all good. Right, guys. So I couldn't say anything about CA Juventus other than what I'm going to read to you now. Based in Sao Paulo, Adidas shirts are often a bit boring. It's fair to say this one falls into that category. That's despite a very nice looking jot tag. I like the look of that a lot. That is really good. It seems to have a bit of texture, so that's top tier in that department. Precious little on the rest of the kit, and again, a really fun looking detail. That looks quite good actually. But again, it's relegated to the back. It is just sadly a bit simple. Sometimes a simple shirt can look nice. I think this one, despite some really nice details, yeah, it's quite forgettable. But it's not going to be in the bottom tier. It's not going to be in our Ice Cube tier. For anyone who is tuning in, who is new, there's a very simple system, I should say. My favourite shirt's on the right, least favourite on the left. You can see here that, yeah, this is our volcano tier, the hottest shirts of the year. The least hot in the Ice Cube tier. Also, just for clarity, this is every shirt released in the calendar year. So there are some shirts from last season on here. And we're not including shirts that aren't worn in the game or goalkeeper shirts as well. That's worth saying as well. But there's like, I don't know how many hundreds of kits on here. Too many. Again, so many that Photoshop is very much struggling. I'm surprised my PC can cope with this, to be honest. But there we go. Right, this is annoying. There we go. So this Juventus shirt, CA Juventus, I should add. Yeah. It's too plain to be anything higher than a low candle tier. This is our third tier. But the details are very nice. So, I mean, you can just about see the line there between the tiers. So, I don't think it's in the bottom tier, as I said. But we'll stick it here. I mean, again, without that jock tag in the back, no detail, it would be in the lower tier, though. I don't know. This looks, I don't know if that's specific to the club. It looks really good, though. Speaking of Brazil, what about Santos? Santos and Umbro. Umbro typically are very good in Brazil. We talk about them a lot. I've talked about them a lot as being, it's the best. If you want to find a good Umbro kit, the best ones are found in Brazil, typically. Very understated design. A similar story to the previous shirt we just looked at, although I do like that this is a raised detail. It's a small difference, but it does look good. That crest as well. I'm not always the biggest fan of embroidered crests, but I like this. I think I'm right in saying there's an older version of the Santos crest. I might be wrong. The embroidered style does actually match the very simple aesthetic. Can't get too excited about this one, but I do actually prefer the oval look compared to something like that Juventus shirt we saw previously. I think in this example, yeah, the balance of colours, having the white sleeves almost as a kind of raglan sleeve style going onto the sides, it honestly gives it a lot more compared to the Juventus shirt, I would say. The Club Atletico Juventus, I should add. I keep saying Juventus. You know what I mean. Yeah, but I think I'd nudge it slightly higher than that CA Juventus shirt. Not much more than that, though. So I think we're still looking at a candle tier. This one doesn't have a jock tag, which is fine, but again, that's something which the Club Atletico Juventus one had. It's these small things which do make a difference. Yeah, I think for these sorts of shirts to go in the higher tiers, it's not necessarily about a crazy pattern, but it's looking at things like the details, looking at things like other elements which could be added to a plain shirt, details on the inside neck, and just ultimately things like the color scheme and things like materials. This is again what separates a shirt which might be plain in these top two tiers from plain shirts in the bottom tiers. And you can see there's just so many shirts. I mean, I can barely even remember half the shirts here. So anyway, that's Santos. What about Nuremberg? This is an interesting shirt in that it's a largely white out design, largely all white design, but for the sponsor. And I don't know who Minsk? Can't even say the word. I don't know what that means. Let's have a quick look. Again, I'm reading this. Human rights collaboration with the Nuremberg Academy of Fine Arts. Again, I still don't know what Minsk means. Apologies, my German is not very good. Anyway, if anyone knows, let me know. These monochrome kits, monotone shirts, are very much in vogue, of course. Blackout designs especially. I think typically the whiteout designs, you think of designs like Arsenal's all-white shirt and... oh man, there's so many shirts on here. It's hard to remember exactly where I ranked that. I think it was somewhere here, but this is the problem when you try to rank every shirt in the year. It gets a little bit muddled. I'm literally scanning across the whole thing. Anyway, we looked at that earlier in the year. I thought it was down here somewhere. It will come to me. It will appear halfway through our stream. That design was a notable one, but there have been other all-white designs. I think, given the contrast, having the I think it's a rather than a sponsor, it's some sort of message related to the story of the shirt. Again, apologies, guys. Brock with the knowledge, as he often does, helping me out here. Mensa. Thank you. See, pronunciation guide as well. Mensa means human, person, human. Thank you, Brock. I need to come up clutch with the German, so that's really helpful. That completely explains the design. Good to see Zix Zero from Sweden. Hello, Zix Zero. Welcome to you. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, so the Mensa script on the front, it obviously draws your attention immediately, and in that sense, I think it does actually give the shirt quite a lot. I'm not against these monochrome designs, but I think it's nice to see a little bit of something, whether that is something like this message here. Also, of course, you're looking at things like how the crest and details have been applied, and I appreciate that there's still a quality element here, and that you've got raised details, plastic applications, as opposed to just a sublimated print, which is a small but important upgrade. So yeah, I think because we've seen a lot of monochrome shirts, it's less exciting or less notable, obviously, in this year than it would be in previous years, 5 years ago, say. But having the Mensa script on the front. And I believe, and again, I apologies, I'm just reading the press release here, or the details here. So it says here that it's acting as a promotion of respect to human rights. I assume part of the proceeds went to a cause, but I can't confirm that. But either way, that's a good thing. So no, I'm largely liking the look of this one. But I can't get too excited about it. I think we're looking more still in this third tier, albeit higher up in the third tier. But I think these, again, it takes a special monochrome shirt to actually get in these higher tiers, because the approach has largely been fully explored. Again, I don't know what's happened to that shirt there, but we'll just stick this here. It's obviously got chopped off somewhere. But that's the Nuremberg shirt. And yeah, nice to see the box. A shot of the box there. We don't always get to see that for the special edition shirts. Very interesting. Talking of special shirts, we've got a Mönchengladbach shirt now, the Puma Diversity shirt. Now, this is something which, again, has become more of a thing in the last couple of years. And indeed, just the other week, we looked at Borkum's shirt, which was very similar. A very similar style with a largely black base with rainbow-coloured details. Now, I think, and again, it's so hard to remember exactly where we ranked that. From memory, we ranked it in this tier, but I'm just scanning through. There's so many kits that I am basically just trying to find it. If I can't find it in the next 10 seconds, we'll move on. What would have been clever is if I'd somehow named all the layers as we were going through, and then I had a little search. I'm sure you could probably do that, but maybe we'll do that next year. Anyway. The Borkum shirt was a very similar vibe. I think this one, I would like these sorts of details more if they were actually iridescent. So by that I mean, it would be harder to achieve, or there would be less consistency, of course. But I think this kind of forced gradient, it obviously brings the impact of the colour quite nicely, and it's consistent again. It's less exciting to me personally than an iridescent approach, which we have seen from several shirts, and it is very much still a thing again in the current kind of modern trends. We've seen that sort of thing. So I think it has a visual impact, but it could be so much more interesting to me. I think it's interesting that they've actually kept the green, or the club green, for the name set and for the Puma logo. I don't mind that. I think that actually looks good. And the sleeve sponsor also in the rainbow star. This is fine. I don't think I'm as excited by it as other special edition shirts. I actually think I probably would rank this similar to the Nuremberg shirt just now. Maybe slightly higher. No, I'll go slightly higher. I think the pattern as well is kind of one of those where I get it. You've got the globe, which is quite... Honestly, it's one of those things you don't see at first, and then you notice it, and there's it's a very stylized globe map, which I like. I think is quite nice. I think I say that, I'm pretty sure it is, but it must be. It must be. No, honestly, I'm leaning towards the bottom end of the Flames tier here. Actually, now I see that. Knowing that it's not just completely random, the pattern, honestly, that helps. I think at first it just looks like a kind of generic camo, which is fine, but no, it's a nice interpretation on the kind of global theme, which of course matches with the themes of diversity. So not so bad, not so bad. I'm trying to find the line that divides these two tiers. It has been completely buried, and that's fine. We can just kind of guess. It's oh gosh, let's go here. That seems about right next to Werder Bremen. Nice, and Bayern and Hoffenheim, a bit of a German section there. Box's first 2023 MLS shirt, St. Louis City, or Lewis. Is it Lewis or Louis? How do they say it over there, Brock? It's a new expansion club joining the league. St. Louis? I think it's St. Louis, isn't it? Right? I might be wrong. We'll go with St. Louis. If it is Louis, then I've messed that up. But so here we go. Interesting to see with these MLS kits. We're looking at things like what is the base construction or template like, because of course you're going to get that across all the teams. And yeah, I think largely speaking, I like this current Adidas template construction. This looks to be the replica, I believe, and even on the replica it looks pretty nice. It's a small thing, but I really like this hem, this trim, which you see on the new international kits, for example. Lewis, thank you Brock. I thought it was Lewis. A rare correct guess for me there. I say guess. I do watch a lot of NFL, and I do seem to remember the Rams when they were in St. Louis being referred to as St. Louis. Anyway, NFL anecdotes aside. So yeah, broadly speaking, I think I'm gonna enjoy most of the base styles of the Adidas shirts this coming year. Also, sleeve taping, and again, this is on a replica tier in terms of materials. You know, I don't think it's a heat ready shirt. It looks to be, or maybe it is. And honestly, yes, it's aero ready. So it's what we typically call a replica shirt. But it honestly is a slight. It's not revolutionary, but it is an upgrade on last year, especially with the taping as well. That is a really nice improvement. Colour wise, what's interesting is I think I'm right in saying that's the flag. It's either the flag of St. Louis or the flag of something. Maybe it's the state, I'm not sure. Yeah, and then you can see that's a clear inspiration for the shirt itself. I like it. What I would say though is when you see the shirt, I kind of like this kind of squiggle here, and I wonder if that could have been played on a bit more. The design we've got, it's kind of got this half and half thing going on. Yeah, I don't love it, if I'm honest, but I do think the colourway is quite nice. The pink is a very nice vibrant shade, and again, the new template looks good. So honestly, the sponsor folds in pretty nicely as well. Even though colour-wise, anyway, it's not very aesthetically pleasing. Also, well noting the Adidas logo. So there's honestly quite a few things to digest here, and largely speaking, I like what I see. I don't think I'd quite stick it into the hot tier, just because I personally don't really like that half and half look. It kind of, to me, I'm not really convinced by it, but I'm gonna be watching the MLS kits with a lot of interest this year. Again, I think because the Adidas template, the Adidas construction is looking a bit better this year. I'm expecting that to lead to some good shirts overall. So this one, I'm feeling something around here. I mean, there's not many gaps left, is there, on our list? But something around there feels good. Yeah, near Fulham. Nice. So that's St. Louis. Robert says, I love the St. Louis shirt, but too expensive. Yeah, it's an issue with MLS kits, and Brock alludes to it as well. So the authentic, something like $160 without a name set. Brookson, I think that one is authentic. I think the replica doesn't have yellow in the cuffs. Interesting. So maybe it is that this is the authentic, but they don't have heat ready, which is the material and the spec that you see on the authentic international kits. It's very confusing. Sometimes you do get authentic, i.e. player issue or player spec shirts that have replica materials. Yeah, and in fact, thinking about it, was that the case? I thought last year's MLS kits had heat ready rather than aero ready. I'd have to check that. But certainly one of the big things in MLS is often their kits, the authentic kits, the player spec kits, have major differences compared to the replica, more so than your typical European kits. Yeah. So there we go. Honestly, it is. I think that one could grow me. And again, I think the base, the Adidas shirts just looks better. So there we go. Now let's go to Malaysia. This is a country close to my heart. My mum is from Malaysia. So yeah, I'm quite partial, or biased, shall we say, to their kits. I've never actually picked up a Malaysian kit, and that's something I need to do really. I was quite keen on was it 2018 shirts, and I missed out at the time. This one, I think that pattern, it looks very similar, if not the same, as what we've seen on a few other kits. The likes of Poland had this on their sleeves, I think, or at least very similar. And is this the same as Saudi Arabia? It's either the same or very similar to Saudi Arabia's away kit, which of course has kind of become famous now because of the Argentina upset. It's hard to get too excited because of the template, and the thing is, some of the Nike kits this year have looked quite good. Personally, I much prefer the versions where you have what has kind of been dubbed the bat wings, the detail on the front of the shirts, which kind of helps it feel more like a kind of T90 tribute in a positive sense.
But this style, I don't like the way the panel and the collar meet, and it doesn't look very nice. The pattern again, because it's not bespoke, but it doesn't detract too much, and you've got the fairly simple, but I think the yellow details, they do pop from the black base. Standard Nike name set there, worth mentioning. And yeah, you can see in the dry fit ADV spec, you get that lovely ventilation patterning, which does add to the shirt. This is the replica version, which still is good. It's not spectacular though, and again, it's actually, as opposed to the St. Louis shirt where the Adidas construction actually is kind of helping the shirt a bit. This is the opposite, where Nike's just this current wave of Nike templates just isn't that attractive. So I'm very much looking forward to the next step for Nike, just because I think so many shirts have basically been held back, I would argue, with this kind of pseudo throwback kind of T90 vibes, but not really achieving it that well. But this is fine. I'll stick it next to Finland there, because I do think there's aspects to it that are not too bad. Matt says that's appalling if something like the colours of the shirt are deemed player spec defeats the point of replica. Yeah, Matt, honestly, there are some serious differences. I mean, to the point where, it's not just like extra little details. It's like a full collar will be different. It's a long ongoing thing. Broadly speaking, it's partly to do with the differences in the American market, and he essentially needed to justify the markup that they have. Apologies. And yeah, there's various things to be said about that, but largely speaking, it's just not good from a consumer perspective. It's not good. And Matt said, still hate the Nike paneling template with the weird shoulders, especially when they do color or pattern change to make it so clear. Yeah, very much similar, Matt. I do think, again, the version, the Batwing version, has something about it, but yeah, no, I hear you. Now, this shirt is a fun one, because this is one of the competitions that I entered this year. I didn't win this one, unlike Red Star, but the end result, honestly, I really think this is a bit too safe. Now, I think the overall look, colour-wise, has something about it. The dark look and the purple, it has a nice base to work with. And I like this little detail on the inside neck. It's a small thing, but that looks good. But, we see here play to be different. This shirt, it's very, very safe. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think, it doesn't quite, if it's going to be more toned down like this is, I think you either need to, again, play out all the details or just show a little bit more than just, essentially, were it not for this little section here, I think it is just a plain shirt. And I get it. But it feels very safe. It feels very, for a fourth kit, where you've typically got more license, it doesn't have to be crazy again, and that's an important thing to say. But honestly, the end product, I think, was quite underwhelming. That's just my take. I think, and again, similar to a lot of the shirts we've ranked today, I'm not going to put it in the Ice Cube tier, simply because I think, pardon me, there is actually, the overall colour scheme is nice. I actually quite like it's like a very dark, I don't know if it's purple or navy, or it might even just be black, but it almost, it's a very nice, I think maybe it's either very deep navy or black, I can't tell. But yeah, just a bit safe. Matt, the Napoli kit is to come, and you say there, have we slated the kit? We will slate the kit. Funny story, because of course one of Napoli's Maradona shirts snuck in. You'll see, well, I'm just going to tell you now, the Christmas shirt is even worse than that one, and we'll come on to that today. So yeah, Fiorentina honestly could have been so much better. Largely quite disappointed, but maybe I'm just bitter that I didn't win the competition. I don't know. In terms of placement, again, I'm trying to find somewhere. Let's go here. Let's go there. Yeah, that's Fiorentina's fourth kit. Next we have Darmstadt with their 125th anniversary shirt. So they are pretty much the same age as Red Star. So it seems. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of this one. This style where you have a kind of drawing, sketch, whatever you would call it, on the front, it just isn't for me. Honestly, it's more of a personal taste thing. The other thing though, I don't like the gradient cuffs. They credit for doing something different. Credit to Craft for trying to do something a bit more out of the ordinary. I don't really think it looks very good. On the back as well, this style of detail here just makes you think of those, well, the Nike 2018 template, which of course was then copied by several brands, including Puma had a similar construction where you had this kind of stretchy or slightly stretchier middle panel on the back neck. That just immediately makes you think of that. But honestly, I think this is a swing and a miss. Look at the cuffs there. See, I think like, from the front, I don't hate it that much, but then you see it there, it honestly looks bad. And this, I personally think it looks a bit cheap. Hate to say it. I actually think I'd put this at the bottom tier. It's for an anniversary shirt, I appreciate the boldness. They've not just done a clean kit, which would have been easy to do, but I think they're kind of caught between a few ideas here. And personally, I would say this shirt is Ice Cube tier fodder, I'm afraid. Apologies to any Darmstadt fans out there if you are watching. Perhaps this will be your last time watching, but we've seen much worse kits, so I'm not going to put it in the very bottom, but there's a gap here, and that feels just about right, personally. Brock, however, says I like this Darmstadt shirt a lot, so there we go. That's the beauty of shirts, and the opinions can differ quite a lot. I don't like the little dual stripe below the crest. Should have just left that section off. Robert says Darm means bows in Dutch, so I can never wear a Darmstadt shirt. That is brilliant, Robert. And Brock says I think the cuff should just be white. I think maybe I'm being a bit harsh putting it that low, but I'm going to leave it there. We've got many more shirts to go. Sligo Rovers out of Ireland. Now, you guys, any regular viewers will know I'm not the biggest fan of gradients. Oh, sorry. It's the first yawn of the day. 40 minutes in, that's not bad. Usually I'm about 20 minutes in before I start yawning. Sligo Rovers. This one, it's not my favourite approach. Obviously, they've done it to incorporate the sponsor. It is what it is. Very interesting design, having kind of half stripes, and it almost has a kind of it's like a half barcode. Barcode shirts being shirts with varying thicknesses of stripes. I don't actually. It's funny. As much as I dislike gradients, I don't actually mind the end look of this one. And again, it's not to personal taste, but honestly, when I look at this, it's a bit odd. It does feel a bit unfinished. It's like a half and half and a barcode with a gradient thrown in. Honestly, the end product I don't think is actually too bad. I might even. It's hardly going to be. It's not going to be high up on the list, but I actually wouldn't be against having this one. Maybe just inside the canon tier, which I'm surprised at myself saying that. But despite my kind of personal grievances with the design, I care too much about these things, guys, that I could even care about this. But don't we all? The fact they've essentially just got two colours. I typically would say it's nice when a shirt does keep its kind of number of colours down. It sounds funny, but I think in that sense you can have quite nice looking shirts simply because they don't introduce loads of unnecessary shades. yeah, this isn't going to challenge anything up this end, but I'm feeling something closer to here. And again, I'm surprised myself, but when I look at it as an end product, I actually don't think this is too shabby. So we'll stick it there. Yeah, it's nothing exciting, but it's a few unusual choices, which push it in just into the counter. Brock says that embroidered crest looks cheap. I don't know if that's in reference to Sligo. Yeah, that's Sligo, I think. I assume you're referring to. Yeah, very, very basic. Yeah, not much to be said about that one for sure. Right, continue. We've got 2 more pages. We've got some good shirts on this list, guys. I can tell you that now. From first-hand experience. Let's first do Malaysia's home kit. Now, we had the away just now. The home, I think it is just a plain shirt as far as I know. And, at least the away, I think, was a much stronger combo. There's not many tees of World Football with yellow home shirts, but this is just the bare minimum from Nike. So this has to go in the Ice Cube tier. I wouldn't put it too low because even though it is very boring, again, the color scheme is the yellow and black is fine, and the shade of yellow isn't bad. Like I'd probably take this shade over, say, I think a slightly darker yellow like this can often, like these AEK Athens shirts, can often. Oh, sorry. Just like buses. 2 yawns come along at once. No doubt more to follow. I've lost my train of thought there. Yeah, this shade of yellow, slightly kind of more vibrant shade than we often see. But I mean, I'm clutching at straws in terms of what to say here. I wouldn't, as I say, put this one much above this kind of range. So not the best outing for Malaysia this time around. As I say, I think it was 2018 if I'm not remembering, or was it 2020? I think it was 2018. Malaysia had some really, really nice kits. This year, I would give them a miss. Cork City. I must say, Cork City's reunion with Adidas has been, well, I mean, this is terrible. I literally can't see anything. This just looks like a teamwork kit. With the recoloured crest to match the design. I say design, this is literally an off-the-shelf template, I think. I might be wrong. This is just, it's just bad. Now, we've seen, if the only thing keeping this from the very, very bottom, we've seen much worse sponsors. But, I mean, this has to be one of the worst kits. I say at the very bottom, we're not talking, I don't think, Napoli levels, but very, very underwhelming. Like, to the point of, like, off-the-shelf templates, they exist for a reason, but Cork City, they're not a small team, or at least they're a team with a lot of great history with Adidas. This is just terrible. Again, I don't think we're kind of in the bottom, very, very bottom, but we'll stick it here. Very disappointing. Yeah. And Brock saying that Cork City shirt is a template MLS teams used last year as their training shirts. Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually. This does seem, yeah. It does very much look like a training shirt. And that, as if we needed another reason to keep it low. So quite disappointing, it's fair to say. Yeah, we'll move on to Fort Madison. Now, Fort Madison have a great modern heritage with shirts, consistently producing interesting designs. I don't think they're quite as strong as they have been in the past. And again, we're only talking the last few years, but there's been fewer Fort Madison designs in the last year or two, which I've been as excited about compared to the start of the club. Honestly, I think this one, I'm not the biggest fan, and I'm looking at this now for the first time, so I'm trying to take in the information. I think that flamingo at the back, it's a very interesting dark flamingo, the kind of evil flamingo look. I assume it's a flamingo, based on the club crest. But then with the silver crest, an unusual choice. I don't think I like this one as much, to be honest. The pattern here looks a little bit busy. You've got elements, what looks to be kind of club letters with the feathers of the flamingo. Some of them are in pink. I don't think, honestly, I think this is a little bit messy. So despite Full Madison's deserved reputation as one of the most interesting teams in world football when it comes to kits, not just in the lower leagues of the US, I think this is a miss. Now, despite being a bit messy and a bit all over the shop, I would say this one, again, you'd rather swing a miss than not swing at all, as with the Cork City shirt and others. So I don't think we're talking lower end of the ice cube tier, and not even the ice cube tier, to be honest. I think I would, again, as has been the case with the few shirts, sneak it in to the counter tier. But in terms of where in the counter tier, I think something here feels about fair. Yeah, let's go there. Alongside a few others, Melbourne, Rangers, etc. Interesting approach, but ultimately I think they've had much better shirts. Good band name, Dark Flamingo. Indeed. Matt, great point here, saying I think also some of the off-shelf templates look so much nicer than that. I quite like the Condiva Matchday 22 template. If you're a Cork City fan, I definitely prefer that. Great point, Matt. I think that's actually a really important thing to say, is that not all templates and off-the-shelf templates are created equally. There are many which actually look quite good and which, I'd like one of my teams to have. Whereas the kind of Cork City version, or approach, I should say, with that kind of training wear, much less exciting. And as Brock says, though, here we go. We are up next. This is the Red Star FC 125th anniversary shirt. Yeah, honestly, firstly, we've done well on the rankings there. I don't know what to say, guys. I mean, I said it in my last video. Go check that out on the channel. I talked about my experience. It's just really cool to see this again. I like this. I've been called many things. Popular kit aficionado, Field Else. I like that one. I mean, it's pretty. I don't know. This is cool just to see. It's a small thing, but we're talking about these clubs, these countries. Yep, and we're there. I say we because it very much, I said it on the video, but couldn't do it without your support. It sounds cheesy, but it's true. I wouldn't have had the confidence to go for it in the first place were it not for people here on YouTube and on Twitter and other places. So anyway, the question is, and I've been thinking about this, where would I actually rank this? And it's impossible, of course, to separate myself from the design or to kind of try and look at it objectively. But I as much as possible, I've always, ever since I've started talking about kits, I've always wanted to try and assess things objectively. Andrew says, don't be humble now, absolutely beautiful kit. Firstly, thank you, Andrew. Secondly, I will again, I'll try not to kind of go the other way and try and be so humble that I think, like, guys, I think we smashed it. I say we because, again, I'm talking about Kappa here, the club, who helped take my design and tweaked it. I think we smashed it. I think for an anniversary kit, honestly, I think we nailed the brief. The only thing, and there are a couple of things, like small differences, which, again, if this is me trying to be objective here, I think it looked, personally, it looked a bit nicer with the brush strokes in the green. Also, the collar is a little bit flappy. I don't want to nitpick here. In some of the photos, it kind of looks better than others. But you can see here on the product shot, the quality element wasn't as good as it could be. However, that being said, I do think, although not in the, and again, I don't think I would put it in the same tier as your Belgranos, your Brombies, your Vascos. I don't think we're in that category. I do think we'll sneak into the volcano tier. And I say sneak, so I think personally, again, this is, how could I possibly rank this objectively? But if I try to do it objectively, I do think there have been better shirts this year. I don't actually think this would get into my personal, maybe even top 10 objectively. Now, obviously, in real terms, this is, well, I'll never forget this whole experience. But if we're doing it on that basis, this should have its own wall. This should be over here. No, I think win the volcano tier here, and again, no surprise really. I really think, again, this is a funny thing to try and assess, but I do think for an anniversary kit, we nailed this one. And honestly, I like something about here. Let's go here. Let's sneak Lex to Spezia. Yeah, that feels good. I mean, yeah. What else can I say? I said it in the video before. That it's genuinely, it continues to be quite emotional. Honestly, I thought I would have got over it by now. I still haven't. Yeah, there we go. That's the Red Star shirt. Brooke says your original color design was better. Yeah, I think it was. The other thing, which again we couldn't have for various reasons, but I had this nice idea to have an embossed collar, but that was a bit fancy. I don't think Kappa or Red Star at that kind of level. I say Kappa, that's a bit harsh. Kappa do very good kits, but what I mean is I don't think we typically see that level of attention to detail. I think we're getting a bit too expensive there. But yeah, Brock says, and previously I will say a few things they changed for design makes it slightly less good, but still amazing nonetheless. They shouldn't have changed any of the elements. Yeah, part of it was for practical reasons. Part of it was just to keep it a bit more streamlined, I think. But no, when I see this, one point also, it was that I was so happy to see like a bit of a photo shoot. It just helps to kind of add to the, I don't know, like I kind of wasn't expecting much more than just the product shot, but they actually bothered to do a photo shoot with, a fun little story here with the birthday cake. It's cool. It is really cool. Honestly, I can't believe it's what happened. Matt was saying I was tired of a question about the collar and what to ask if it were and what to ask if it was what you wanted without seeming rude. Glad you covered it. Also, how would you change the collar? I think for me, it just in this example here you see kind of like, because of the fold of the collar, it just doesn't quite. It always looks a little bit messy. I say always. Sometimes looks a bit messy. And the collar, it could have done with being a little bit stiffer, basically. It was slight. And these are, I'm completely nitpicking. But again, I think some of the very best shirts, either they have much simpler collars. I think so. In fact, I can't remember. I'll have to go and dig out my cupboard. I think the Vasco collar was a bit better from memory, basically. And that's another Kappa shirt, of course, albeit Kappa Brazil. Yeah. Box says I looked at order one, but £30 for shipping to the USA. Yeah, it's a real shame about the shipping costs. I was hoping that these would be available from other sites. Yeah, but that is a shame. It does make it very expensive. I'd love, I was hoping again they'd be stocked, maybe even the UK with better shipping options. But yeah. Andrew says, making shots interesting as an achievement. You had 3 ways of doing that, even if the brushstroke didn't make it in the final show. Hassle, sir. Really appreciate that, Andrew. Guys, I appreciate all the love about this, honestly. Yeah. Some nice comments on here. I never usually scroll to the comments. Anyway, really, really happy with how it turned out. Yeah, what more can I say? Let's continue. We've got more shows to rank. We want to finish, and we've got some real shockers to rank too. Basel. Now, Basel, again, I'm pretty sure, I'm just going to check now as we speak. I think I'm right in saying that we never got to see the home shirt ranked, also listed on, for some weird reason, Football Shirt Culture, the site we use to reference these new releases, didn't put the Basel shirts. I think that they just miss stuff occasionally, is what it is. Yeah, I agree, Brock. Let's rank all of the Basel shirts. So let's now just, gosh, what's the best term to use? I guess we could use 3 headlines, couldn't we? Oh, there's Soccer Bible here. That's a bit more easier bit. Yeah, so that's Soccer Bible for the home. And then if we do the away, Was there a third as well? Because this is apparently the fourth kit. So again, I mean, we could go on the Macron site. Actually, that's not a bad shout. Let's see what we've got here. Don't need that. Yeah. Okay. Nice. So that's the away. That's the home. Yeah, very keen to these because, in short, these are very, very good. Like sneakily, some of the best kits of the year. And it was released months and months ago, so I've been meaning to do this for a while. Alan says hardly anything with the shirt. Alan, not sure if you're referring to this or the Red Star ones. If it's the Red Star, thank you. If it's the Basel ones, honestly, I agree. I really, really like these. Here we go. Here's the third. So we've got a quadruple set of Basel shirts. I'm going to take a very short break, guys, and then we'll come back to these shirts. Honestly, the home and away are very, very good. Like, yeah, we'll come on to that very shortly. See you the other side of the break. Back. Thanks for sticking with us. Alan says, as I mentioned the rest of the shirt. Thanks, Alan. Really appreciate that, mate. Yeah. Brock says, do you ever use Football Kit Archive? I do sometimes, but I don't find that as nice to use. It's a bit harder to kind of grab the images off the site. But no, yeah, another good resource for sure. And Matt says, I think Basel and Blessed are one of the best base templates for a shirt year on year. The half and half red and blue is very hard to do wrong. I agree. I think it is a very strong base style, and it's there's still plenty of room for variation. Perhaps slightly more flexible than stripes, say, where it's easy to mess up stripes. Robert says, well, only one thing wrong with the Basel and the pattern doesn't line up with the red blue in the middle. That is true, and honestly, there's no reason that shouldn't be the case. So that is a fault on their side. But guys, I do think it's a very, very strong combo. Honestly, Macron, like I often say, I'm not the biggest fan of their necklines. That's the only thing. Like, it's a small aspect. In the home, it's fine. I don't just dislike that too much. The away, again, one of the better Macron ones from this year. Very, very true about the pattern lining up. that keeps it from being the very, very top. But I do think we're looking at something very close, probably not quite in the volcano tier, but just outside, I would say. It's a very, very strong shirt. I really like the pattern through it, and of course we've got the same pattern on the away. Kind of fades out into the base with a gradient, which is fine. But very this kind of off-white stone color, whatever you want to call it, but it's a bit beige. I don't know what color it is officially. It's really nice. I think let's start with the home. Again, I think we're talking very, like, for me, it's kind of in this territory. Very, very strong. Like I've again, it's been months and months since this was released. I've been very keen to rank it, and I've just not got around to it. So I'm glad we can get to it today. So a very strong effort from Macron, and some of the better Macron kits for sure. And the away I like even more. The away will be in the volcano tier. I do think, again, that colour, it's kind of a bit of a trendy colour at the moment, but that's the home kit. Really, really like it. Away, honestly, again, I don't love the back neck of current Macron shirts. The year detail's a little bit clunky, but the overall effect is strong. I really like that pattern in the base. It's a lovely subliminal pattern. It's not obvious necessarily from a distance. And that colour is really good. It's really good. So yeah, it fades out in a gradient, which I typically wouldn't love. I've mentioned gradients a lot today. It's just I guess it's a bit similar to something like the I can't remember where do we put the Finland? There we go. The Finland away had a similar kind of gradient thing going on, but this one, if that's the shirt, I might be thinking of another shirt, to be honest. There's been so many shirts, guys. This one's really good. I personally, I think it compares similar to something like the Sampdoria shirt. Honestly, I think it really ticks a lot of boxes. I really think that colour scheme looks good. I'd be happy to put this around here. Maybe just, something around there feels good. I think it's excellent. I think it's really, really good from Macron. Sorry, just reading the comments. Matt says, I can't believe I hadn't seen this yet when I ranked my top 10 for the year. The Basel home is challenging for top 10. It's so nice. And yeah, I like that, because Brock saying that he lived in Basel for a few months. Matt saying that is exactly the kind of excuse that will make me buy a home shirt. Any tenuous link would do. I love that, guys. That's exactly that's such a great collector's thing, isn't it? Now, what's really cool about this third shirt, it's not as good as the other two for me, but I love that it complements the you see that pattern on the sleeve, of course, the same pattern that you see in the body of the away or the home. So it's such a small thing, but when you see a kit collection across home, away, third, and any special kits, and there's a shared story element through maybe colours, patterns, especially details, it's such a strong direction to go down. And honestly, I think that really elevates every kit in the collection. Know that this pattern, not only because it is the same pattern, but its placement, which is different. So this one, I actually think it's in the Flames tier, even though in isolation, you see this kit. If this was last year's third kit, I don't think I'd be as excited about it, but it had, again, shared elements. I actually do think, despite the navy colour being fairly average, that kind of nice peppery red, kind of vibrant red, I think that looks really nice as a secondary colour. So it's just great for Macron. Honestly, again, this is kind of lower Flames tier for me, but what a collection this would be to have if you could get the home away in third. You would have one of the best cheers across any club or country this year for sure. And I think this one actually has to go. I mean, I'm just looking for a nice gap. There are very few gaps now at this stage of the season. Let's go here. That's the Basel third. So home away and third, all in the higher end of the tier list. I think that's really, really good. Andrew's saying the away is like a nicer version of Lorient's kitchen counter third kit. Yeah, very similar kind of colourway. That Lorient shirt I actually liked. Yeah, in fact, there you go. In fact, very similar colourway. So yeah, a good shirt. I like that. And a different vibe, quite different. Much more obvious pattern, but both great in their own way. Very much one of the colours of the year. I think that's one thing when I do my review of the year. I'm gonna do some sort of look back at the year, talking about maybe a handful of kits or trends that we've seen. And I think certainly from a colour perspective, Off-White will be mentioned. You can see multiple shirts in this top area, be it Vasco, the two shirts we just talked about, and there's many others. And it's not new by any means, but it seems to have been a slightly more common, even Mexico, I guess, to a certain extent. Yeah, there's been several, and I think it's worth commenting on for sure. Fourth kit, I think this is the weakest of the bunch. Now, again, it does tie in. This is the funny thing. It does tie in with the rest of the kits, which is so good. Whereas the away, the pattern faded out. This is kind of the inverse of that. I think the colourway, though, for me is the weakest of the set. Now, it's a fourth kit. It goes down a very different direction, a much more kind of contemporary route. I don't think it's that strong, or at least I don't think, you see this pattern. To me, this is a bit classier. It matches the away aesthetic and the home much better, I would say, the colourway rather. So this is, again, what's so cool is that it's rare to see home away third and fourth all having a shared element. That's the wrong kit. That honestly, almost by itself, gives the sorry, I'm just distracted here. Gives each of the kits much more of an identity, I think, because they do tie into the wider collection. But yeah, nothing. I think I would actually probably go in the counter tier for this one, despite the positives. It's by no means a bad shirt, but I think it honestly, I think the colorway lends itself much more to a slightly more modern kind of. It's a really vague term, isn't it? But a slightly more contemporary pattern. This kind of more kind of tiley, slightly more classy, I would say, pattern doesn't quite marry as well, I would say, with the blue and teal. But that's just me. It's not a bad kit, and actually, again, considering how good the home and away, and to a lesser extent the third are, they can't all be hits. Let's go down there. That feels about right. Still very, very solid. Andrew saying Off-White is the new blackout. Black and gold will be plenty this season. Exactly that, Andrew. That's exactly what I'm expecting. We've seen, look at Chelsea there. Another example. Corinthians. I mean, Atletico Mineiro, a little bit more gold, but so maybe we won't count that one. But yeah, Borkum. Like there's been a notable increase, I would say. Was that Leverkusen or Stuttgart? Apologies, I can't remember which German team it was now. Leverkusen. Yeah, so I think that's Qatar, you could say. Anyway, there's loads. We could plain spot the Off-White shirts here. Yeah, very much a trend. I guess almost kind of could include Ajax, not quite. Anyway, enough of that. I'm getting distracted now. Vasco da Gama, Kappa supporter shirt. Now, I don't know if these are going to be worn, guys. Let's have a look, because we're not including shirts that aren't actually worn on the pitch on the hot wall. So what have we got here? Supporter shirts. Sounds to me very much like they're just leisure wear. But I might be wrong. With the Qatar World Cup in mind. Okay, so I think we can just move on from these. Apologies if they are going to be worn by Vasco on the pitch. If they were, there's a novelty factor. I mean, we've seen it before when Brazilian clubs have done shirts in the Brazil colours. I think when you don't have a sash on a Vasco shirt, you always feel a bit shortchanged, and it does take something special to kind of for you to not end up missing the sash, because it is such a strong identity of their shirts. You do see it there on this one, which looks pretty funky. Let's move on though. Let's go to Bohemians, or Bohemian FC. Now this one is interesting from O'Neill's. the pattern in the stripes looks kind of scaly. Very interesting. The mild triangle went jingle jangle. I'm assuming it refers to some sort of song. Oh, sorry, the old, not the mild. That makes sense because there is a famous folk song called "The Old Triangle," the mild triangle. Ah, fantastic. That looks like mild. Come on. I was just about to say there's a song, a famous folk song called "The Old Triangle," and the line says "When jingle jangle." So anyway, this is the kind of cutting edge commentary you get here at Phil's Corner. You won't find that anywhere else. So moving on swiftly before I get cancelled by, I still think that looks like mild. I don't know if my eyes are just playing tricks on me, but it's very much the old triangle. This one has a lot of interesting details. Again, this detail, although it's just sublimated, I think is actually is a kind of fun story. We see it as well in the pattern being a triangle. So this one I think actually is kind of interesting. Notable that we've got 3 stripes, and I can't remember the exact story. I believe basically the long and short is that O'Neill's are able to use the 3 stripes because of various licensing agreements over the years with Adidas. Basically, it's not a conflict to have 3 stripes, which looks really weird, and it's quite jarring, but that's why O'Neill's kits often have 3 stripes. I think this one's quite interesting. Now, I don't love the collar, that style. I just don't really like that look. And looking more at the shirt, honestly, I think were the details a bit more quality, and were there less sublimation? I think this one would have a shot at something a bit higher. I might honestly, sneak this one into. I think it's going to stay on the counter tier. It's just lacking a bit of finesse in terms of the quality, but and the pattern is very interesting. It very much looks like scales. I don't think it's one of the better ones you've seen, but it's above average. That sounds like such a backhanded compliment. I do think this one is good. I would I've said this before the Hot War that the old science speaker. Fantastic. Oh, Andrew, don't. I've already called it the mild triangle. This is. Oh gosh, can you tell it's nearly the end of the year? Well, it is the end of the year. Nearly the end of the week. Slightly losing the plot. Yeah. Looking at this one, I think something around here feels good. For Bohemians. Yeah, really interesting design from O'Neill's, and again, nice to see. Like, the pattern looks a bit odd, but there is a reason there. Again, it's hard to unsee a science speaker now. I know you've said that, Andrew, but now, guys, we come on to the Napoli Christmas shirt. I'm not going to say anything you won't. Let me start again. Nothing I say will be surprising. It just looks naff. I think someone even found out that it was, if not a direct, basically clip art Google image search type deal, it was very similar to one. It's just really bad. There's no other way to look at it than just a really bad, shameless cash in. It just looks terrible. It honestly is the worst shirt we've seen this year. Like, genuinely, I didn't think it could get worse than the Maradona shirt, but it absolutely is worse. I don't know what else to say other than this is literally the worst design we've seen this year. What makes it so much worse is that it's actually for one of the biggest teams in world football. And, I say that, like, Napoli are a huge team. They're one of the biggest teams in Italy, certainly. But I would say in world football, they are a massive club with, so much, just heritage. And this is genuinely, I'm going to put this like that. that is how much I dislike it. It does, yeah, but it does dethrone. Like, genuinely, when we saw that Maradona shirt right at the start of the year, this, of course, came at the back end of the 21-22 season. It was, like, genuine. I mean, it's almost the same, isn't it, in terms of the base? And then you've just got, instead of Diego and his fingerprint, it's Rudolph, but they've not even tried there. And it's a complete, look at, to add insult to injury, it's just a plain back. Unbelievable. Like, honestly, when I see that, it makes you think actually the Halloween one was slightly better. But I mean, there's the same kind of deal. Like, it's the crazy thing is, these designs have got worse this year, and it's not. There's an argument about there's already an argument about the quantity side, but nah, just I don't even want to dwell on it. They're just really bad. They're really bad, and the fact that it's for a very big club. Yeah, unbelievable. Hall of shame indeed. But there we go. Obviously, because they're so bad, they do have, in a kind of slightly stupid way, they do have a collectability element to them. And I hate to say that, but it's true that, you know, the worst shirts often are some of the more collectible ones. That just is what it is. Colo. Now, I won't rank both these shirts. This is a funny thing which often happens with South American clubs, in that the men's and women's shirts will have different colours, or even secondary colours in this example. I'll just rank the men's one just for kind of brevity's sake, but very simple shirt. You know, we've seen this is very much one of the things. Of course, one of the trends of 2022 has been the collars. There's just many collars. So, you know, they kind of get lost. Interesting to see that this actually has this lovely raised details which you get now on the top spec Adidas shirts. So despite being, you know, the material isn't the nice kind of heat ready texture, you do have the really nice plastic chunky applications, which is really good. Detail on the back, though, is very simple and doesn't look very good in terms of quality. So it's a bit of kind of some good, some bad decisions there. And ultimately, the colour, it's an interesting shade. I guess it's trying to be kind of gold. So it's celebrate the 10th anniversary of the women's side Copa Libertadores in 2012. So great occasion to celebrate. Not that exciting in terms of the design. The gold itself is fine, and you know, again, the Adidas logo is that nice chunky texture. I can't put this any higher than the camel tier, but probably on the slightly higher end of the camel tier. I do think again there's enough there. But it sounds funny, but honestly, that Adidas logo is genuinely a draw. You know, I will rank the women's shirt, because even though it is actually like having the white is quite different. I actually much prefer the black personally, alongside the collar. So actually, I think I would rank. Whereas this one I'd put in the kind of mid to high candle. The women's I think is actually much closer to something like probably even the Ice Cube tier, to be honest. Yeah, I do think it looks much better with black, personally. Shouldn't the sponsor be Colo? Yeah, that would also Coca-Cola. Oh gosh, I honestly am losing it a bit today. Robert also said, like the Bohemian shirt, by the way, even looked up how much it was in the web shop. Haven't pulled the trigger though. Yeah, honestly, that's the kind of shirt where, if you like it, I'd definitely be paying attention to things like sales, because sometimes even the more popular club shirts are still available at the end of the year. Not many shirts actually sell out completely before sales, so it's always good to keep a bit of a mental list. Like, you know, off the back of this, I've ticked off several shirts in the Volcano tier this year. So just quickly running through, we've got, this is in my collection: Japan, San Diego, Japan again, Denmark, Belgrano, Vasco, Japan home, Bromby. So Oh yeah, Tijuana. So obviously Red Star. So there's a few of the shirts, but there's others which if I see the Inter shirt, the Interway shirt on sale at the end of the season, I'll probably look at buying it. That's the kind of thing where that's one of the things I love ranking all these shirts, because you start to have at least some sort of idea of in relation to everything else you've seen. We see so many shirts. Honestly, it's been really fun just going through and being able to kind of remember some of these releases that happened like months and months ago, but you just forget because it's just an overload of new designs. That's Colo Colo. Yeah, I think it needs a few more things to be elevated there. And now we go back to Ireland with Derry City. O'Neill's again as well, as we're saying. Kind of an amber colour here by the looks of things. Interesting pattern in the sleeves. A little bit like kind of the Shining vibes there, but old patch in the body as well, so not just the sleeves. I don't mind this colourway. Honestly, this kind of subliminal pattern, I feel like this is kind of, it's nothing new, but it is something of a kind of lost art. I do think sometimes, sometimes we see so many kind of bold patterns. It's nice to see something a bit more subliminal. Apologies, guys. Just had to blow my nose there. And this time I actually remembered to mute my mic. I need to set up a shortcut to do that. Anyway, that's beside the point. Gosh, I am distracted today. This as I say, kind of reminds me of The Shining somewhat. But these kind of subliminal patterns, which you don't often see it at first glance, but they can be there and actually add a lot of interest to a shirt without completely taking over. That, to me, is a really strong approach. So this one is, I think, a low flame stir. It's not spectacular, but I think that the pattern by itself, I think, does give this one something to go on. And the base colour scheme is actually pretty good too. I think if we're talking about kind of colours, this kind of amber colour I do think is quite nice. And of course many clubs do have a similar colourway. But I personally quite like it. So yeah, if that's the line there, I think something around here feels about right, alongside the likes of Poland there and Millwall. Yeah, honestly, you know what, when I say that, I think I would take, I'm going to slide down slightly, not much, but I think maybe we're actually looking something a bit more around here. Yeah, no, that feels better. I think actually, like for example, the Millwall here at Poland, yeah, I'd probably take those slightly, but again, give or take, this kind of area feels about right. Boxes, what's that little band above the crest below the stars? That's just part of the club crest, I think, in relation to Colo Colo, that is. Yeah, I don't know the story behind that, but I'm pretty sure that has been there before. But and Matt says, is that Intermap shirt in the volcano? I can't go with the fact they left the grey squares, good references for the map on the shirt. Yeah, that is on the volcano too, and it is one of my favourite shirts of the year. Sorry. Yeah, I really like that one, honestly. Just from a concept to an execution perspective, great stuff. Inter shirts are often great. I actually really like the home as well. Yeah, I'm quite partial to an Inter shirt, to be honest. So no surprise to see some of their shirts pretty high up the list. And one more page to go, guys, before we close out today. And there's some good ones to come. I can tell you that now. Now let's get to Belgrano. Now Belgrano, almost at the start of the year, we talked about Belgrano, and basically, unless you see something crazy in the next couple of weeks, it is my favourite shirt of the year. I absolutely love the design, and I'm still due. I'm still in the early stages, but I'm making a video, like trying to do a sort of more documentary style video about their shirt. this shirt particularly because it coincided with a promotion season, and it's just, honestly, I think it's an absolute triumph. Now the third shirt here, funny, it kind of channels a bit of the same energy with this pattern. I don't love the oval look as much, but there's still things to like. Nice chunky plastic crest, which is personally to my taste, and I quite like that. And you can see the pattern itself is pretty smart. Lots of details, much like the shirts earlier in the year. But this one, again, I think the kind of block style, it gives it a much different dimension to the other kits, but I don't think it's as attractive. But we're still talking about a really, really, like, the Belgrano shirts of the Rare have been honestly a lot of fun this year in 2022. So despite me not loving the overall look as much, we're not talking about shirt of the year territory here, but I do think we're still talking about something quite hot. And actually, when we look at this, just having a look and kind of, I'm just going to trim that. It's looking a little bit too big there. I think we're looking at something in the kind of, well, in the flames tier, honestly. Despite, like, it is quite jarring, this kind of look, but I do like the direction and this visual aesthetic, visual identity, when the club are really leaning on the kind of pirate imagery. I think is really, really, like, it would easily be a bit on the nose and a bit cheesy, but I do actually think it's been quite strong. I've certainly fallen for it. And like, I don't think this is actually out of place. Let's go here next to Palmeiras and Monaco. I think, excellent stuff from Belgrano again. Robert with some great info on Curly here, saying it was decided a black horizontal stripe would be placed above to represent the eternal mourning for one of the club's most influential figures, David Evellani, one of the club's founders. Robert, honestly, I feel like I might have come across that before and forgotten that, but really good knowledge. Really, really good knowledge. Guys, Como, their third shirt is absolutely brilliant. Following a very artistic theme. Now, actually, you know what? This might be another one where we need to go back on the shirts, because I don't remember ranking the previous Como shirts. Now, maybe we did. No, I don't think we did. So let's do that as well. We've got the home and away, much like we did with Basel. Let's rank there's the home, and I can't remember what was the away. I can't remember off the top of my head. Okay, cool. Let's do that one then. We'll go from that. So Como in Serie B, I believe, notable for really leaning on a kind of artistic direction. Off the field as well, they've had investment from various players and stuff. But yeah, from a shirt perspective, you can see here, like, really, really, like, there are art inspired shirts and there are art inspired shirts. This is very much, the level of detail with the pattern here and the paint. It looks honestly quite striking, and I think the colorway, I particularly like this third one. The home as well deserves a lot of plaudits. These pictures aren't amazing, but you can kind of see the vibe here. Very, very good. The neckline's not my favourite, but overall really strong, and the sponsor's a bit odd, a bit jarring from the aesthetic. The way, I can see what they're trying to do, but I don't think it looks nearly as good, and partly because the sponsor is so much more dominant as well. But like, we're talking a couple of high flames tier shirts here for home and third. The away more like a counter tier, but let's start with the home. I do think we're looking at something again in this kind of region. There's a good gap next to Real Betis there, which I think will slot this one in. A really notable collection. Robert says it was a quick Google search. Hey, Robert, that's how I do my research too, mate. The amount of times, like, before I'm sending the tweet, and I'm literally just Googling stuff, like, some stuff comes to me as moments of inspiration, but most of the time I'm just Googling stuff. So There's no shame in that. Yeah, YouTube doesn't seem to like posting URLs for whatever reason. I guess that helps with spam, to be fair. But yeah, this one though, I think I'd sneak this into the volcano tier. I really like it. Like, it is a bit on the nose. You know, it's a bit like in your face, but I just think it looks really strong. Like, I think I like this darker, kind of broodier color scheme. It honestly, I think really like. This is so much better than just a black. They could have done a blackout shirt. Many clubs have, or would have done, just a blackout kit. Clearly they wanted to tap into that somewhat with this color scheme, but this is just 10 times better than a blackout shirt. Honestly, I think we are talking. Yeah, I think something here feels pretty good. Yeah, it's great. Again, it's a little bit on the nose. By that I mean it's a bit kind of well, I say that, but ultimately I think the end product is good. The away I would rank lower. I don't think it. I might be wrong, but it looks like they've basically got the pattern and added like a white layer, a low opacity white layer. Like it just looks a bit like. Honestly, I'd probably rather they had a white kit with a fresh pattern that was a bit, I don't know, speckled or something. Yeah, that doesn't look a bit just like they've tried to keep the arty vibes, but ultimately it just looks a bit washed. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. So as I resize it here, we will see. Yeah, something. I don't think we're talking anything too low, but more kind of in this region, I think. Feels about right. But really, really strong set of kits for Como. Putting them on the map, honestly. So yeah, good stuff. Now we come to Oakland Soul. Now there's a couple of shirts which we can review in tandem. That's Oakland Soul, who are a new club, kind of forming from Oakland roots, who you probably would have seen. These 2 shirts are notable releases from Maber. Now Maber have just come over to Oakland, both following similar themes. You can see here the iconic black fist symbol, a symbol of social justice causes over the years. Particularly, I believe this shirt is designed in collaboration with I can't remember the name now. It's here we go, the Dr. Huey P. Newton Foundation. He formed the movement, the Black Panther party, and that Black Panther logo is on the Oakland Roots shirt, which I like even more than the Soul one. They're both really, really strong though. The only knock is that some of the details are sublimated, like the back there, but overall, like the name set looks amazing, and you can see this pattern I really like, and you get a bit more of it on the Roots one with the blue, but I like this kind of simplified color scheme, which again isn't just a blackout shirt. But two outstanding shirts. I don't think. Again, I actually think I'd probably put the Roots one in the Volcano tier. It is a bold move having that logo, but it is an iconic logo, and I personally quite like that it kind of interrupts the pattern. I kind of think that it makes it. It's same with the fist as well. Really, really strong set of kits, and I actually did get a chance to see these thanks to Maber, who sent them over to me to have a look at, and I shared some photos today on Twitter, funnily enough. But really good. I think this one, honestly, I just think the visuals of the logo isn't quite as impactful as the Black Panther logo on the Soul shirt, but it's a very strong way to start your account as Oakland Soul, and you can see their logo there. I'm excited to see what else Maber do for them going forward. But yeah, this one, I think we're still talking something pretty high up here. Let's go here. There's a nice gap. And then the Oakland Roots, I think is even better. Like, genuinely, I really like. And even though some of the details are sublimated, the Maber logo is a little slightly raised patch. Embroidered crest is good. Not as good as it could be, but the Maber sleeve taping, a simple but pleasing design element. And of course the number looks really good. Yeah, it helps of course carry the story of the front of the shirt. So yeah, for more pictures you can check out on my Twitter. Again, I shared some pictures that I took. But I think this is great. I personally would put this in the volcano tier. So a strong start again to Maber's offerings over in Oakland. And yeah, I mean, genuinely, when I look at this, I think we're talking something not far behind this Japan shirt that I'm resizing this layer to. If we can just... I've lost far too much time trying to do this. There we go. Yeah, I think it fits around here, to be honest. Yeah, big fan of that shirt. I'll just stick it there. There we go. Yeah, I really like it. And again, both those shirts have me very excited about the future of Maber in Oakland. Motherwell's third kit. Wow, this is a colourway. Wow. I mean, there's a lot. It's a lot to take in. What I will say is we've got what looks to be numbers of various charities helping to fight suicide, and that is a really, really good cause. So even though the shirt, I would say, well, it's definitely high impact. That's clearly the point, to try and get the message across. I do think, though, again, that I don't love this kind of style where it's just word marks that are hard to read and just fully sublimated. So great message. I don't think it's a great kit, but it's certainly memorable, and it obviously is a third kit. They have more license to go for something like that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, on the basis of the visual impact alone, and you know, we can't ignore the story. Like, that's part of the shirt. I don't think we're looking at anything maybe just about, I don't know. I think, again, if I'm just trying to critique it, because this colorway is so in your face and it has that kind of contemporary feel, this is classic Macron problem. I don't really like the collar and neckline, and you know, again, there's this kind of juxtaposition, this clash between the some of the more refined elements, this version of the Motherwell crest, which feels a bit old school, but then the colours feel very kind of new wave. I don't think the shirt is actually that good. What I will say is the way the gradient's been achieved, in kind of, or the pattern rather, which forms kind of like a makeshift gradient, is, you know, it's more creative than we often see. I just don't think it's that attractive. You know, it's a bit too highlighter yellow, or at least if you're going to go down that route, the kind of Volt route. Personally, and it sounds funny, I actually much prefer the Manchester United shirt, which is all the way up there. I don't think this is anything close to that. There's the Arsenal shirt. It's sneaking in there. I knew we could find it. There we go. Near the end of the video, we eventually found it. Let's stick Motherwell there. Yeah, a pretty out there colour scheme, it must be said. Boxing kit kind of reminds you of Dortmund's 2011 kit. It does have that vibe. They've gone up in my estimation this season, but it feels like the most generic Macron type shirt to me. Yep, I hear you there. Talking of Macron, Jogheader. Just Jogheader? Don't know how you say their name. We'll call them Jogheader. United's home, away, and third. So 3 kits to review here. So, on the positive side, it's good to see, again, shared elements. We talked about this before. Nice to see a similar kind of grungy brushstroke effect across home, away, and third. I don't think it's not the most attractive set of kits necessarily. I don't actually think this colourway, it's a classic one in football, of course. The kind of claret, light blue and white, kind of West Ham vibes. But yeah, I don't think it's the most attractive colourway. And this kind of style, I can kind of take or leave. I think it looks better. It's funny on this shirt here. I think I'm sort of warming to it. This shirt with the stripes, slightly less so, but again, I don't mind it. On the third, which I should like, with the sash, but I think it's probably my least favourite. and I don't think the passing the body adds a lot, even though it gives it a bit more kind of to talk about. It gives you more to talk about. But decisions like the gold and the array there, it separates it out from the collection, but the blue clashes weirdly on this render. I don't know if that's the same in the actual kit. It's less of a difference in the actual shirt, it seems, if not the same. So we'll ignore that. That's just the render. But yeah, like if I was going to say rankings, I'd probably say this one middle candle, this one slightly lower candle, and the same for this one. I think they're all candle tier shirts, but it is good to see shared elements. Sorry, that is a small thing which does help, and it's kind of a lost art. I say lost art. We talked about it a bit today, but often it does feel like kits are designed in isolation from one another, and in that sense, it's good to see collections like this. And of course, when you see them all at once, when they're all released at once, it helps. Often kits aren't done in that way, and you have to kind of wait slowly towards the end of the year to kind of see what a brand was thinking. That does happen quite a bit. But yeah, this I don't know if this is the home. I think this is the home. This one I think I'll stick. Again, I'm trying to find a suitable place. We'll go here. It's hard to find it. Hard to find one. Again, I think this is the away. The bar across here, honestly, I actually don't mind that too much. At first, I wasn't too sure. And the kind of, again, brushstroke, grainy aesthetic, I think it has its place. It can be overdone. We saw a lot of it in kind of MLS, for example, a few years ago. But that's well put that one. Again, I think this is my least favourite of the set. And that's despite it having quite a lot going on with the sash and the pattern. But I think maybe it's the colour as well, the maroon colour, not really doing it for me. But I'd still put it, well, I think maybe a bit lower. I was going to say, we ranked Santos there. I probably would take Santos over this. Hard to find a spot here. Let's go here. On the border. Yeah, that is Jogida. Couple more for today. Chivas, Lens, Club Puebla, and Dundalk. So a couple more Irish shirts as we round off the day. An Irish shirt to round off the day. But let's go to Chivas first. Out of Mexico. Now this shirt plays into something which I quite like typically, and that is these, I still don't know what the technical term is other than framing pinstripes or like the Red Star shirt, that look. But of course many Brazilian clubs, especially the likes of Grêmio, Fluminense, it's a just typical look which I almost always like. And what's interesting about this one is that they've actually used those same pinstripes on the central band as well. So an interesting decision. It's hard to get too excited about this one because of how dominant the Caliente sponsor is, and these guys sponsor a lot of clubs. It's kind of a bit of a meme actually in Central and South American football kit commentary. The likes of Lacasacco and other great blogs and accounts in that part of the world. These guys are kind of the equivalent of 32 Red or any of some of the sponsors that we see, that have seen a lot in the UK. But anyway, that aside, I do think the shirt is quite nice. It is dominated by the Caliente sponsor, despite being in white. At least it's somewhat blends in with the design. You can see the same approach with the other sponsors. They're so huge, but at least they are colour-wise matching in with the design. Playing back is what it is. I think this one honestly might sneak into the Flames tier though. And that's despite my grievances with the size of that sponsor. I think probably what seals the deal, despite the plain back, I'm glad that the stripes continue on the sleeves. It wouldn't necessarily, I don't know. I'd be interested to see it with more uniform stripes, but the fact it does continue at all, I think adds so much more compared to just plain sleeves. And the overall effect, I think, is good. It's just held back particularly by the sponsors. But no, I do think this one would go looking here, I don't think it's out of place around this area. Next to Bristol City and Norwich there. Yeah, that's the Chivas shirt. You can see it's worth noting as well, another positive. We have got what looks to be the Ultra Weave. I might be wrong, it says dry cell, so maybe it's just the cuffs actually. So it's actually not Ultra Weave. I was going to say Ultra Weave, despite looking very crinkly, it's good to see the top spec involved. But actually, it looks like we do have a similar situation to before with the St. Louis shirts, which were typical replica material, but the top spec. But anyway, that's beside the point. RC Lens. This is a Puma shirt. Very, very gold look, reminiscent, of course, of the Colo Colo shirt we just talked about, and many others in the year. Notable crest, looks like an alternate crest. Looks pretty smart. I like the look of that a lot. Now let's just have a quick look. So it's a special edition shirt, not into the coal mining heritage of the city. Now it's funny because we've had other coal mining related shirts. Saint Etienne, who had their shirt, which I quite liked, from Hummel. This one I think is actually really good. Now, the neckline, you can see it's a little bit flappy there. This is often the case on necklines. Not my favourite, although that kind of style is pretty good, but the wrap over V, not the biggest fan. And obviously the sponsors, unfortunately the sponsors let this one down, in that you've got very wordy sponsors, which despite being matched colour-wise, it's funny because they also sponsor St. Etienne as well as a main sponsor. But anyway, I like this alternate crest. I think it looks pretty good. And honestly, I think if the quality was a bit better, I think there'd be something about this one. But as is, I think we're still looking at something in the Flames tier. I think lower end of the Flames tier for the reasons mentioned. But yeah, a pretty pleasing shirt. And this is much stronger than something like the Dom Stat shirt, which we looked at before. I do think, again, for these kind of special anniversary shirts, the bar's high. I could talk about Red Star, but it's not just Red Star. There's many other shirts which I think, when you've got these, typically a bit more forgiving briefs, why is that not lined up there at all? And again, this is just a small thing with the way I make these, or resize these images, I should say. Anyway, so let's slot it in. I think it feels kind of at home. Let's go there. Alongside lots of Basel. Pretty good from Lens. Not quite reaching the higher tiers though. Andrew says, can't think of any stripe shirts with the central badge off the top of my head. Yeah, that's funny actually. Honestly, I'd have to think as well. There must be others. But at the risk of getting too bogged down, I'm going to move on. But 2 more to go, guys. Club Puebla, their third kit. Interesting colourway. I want to see this a bit closer. A light blue, almost mint, but I think it is, more of a blue. There's good old Caliente again. I don't think I love the colourway in this one. Now, what's funny is it seems to be a nod to the Statue of Liberty. No idea why. And it's funny because that kind of it does explain the colour. I don't think it looks that good with the blue. Personally, this one isn't resonating with me. I'd be interested to hear the story behind that. Dedicated to fans in New York City. Huh. There we go. Surprising choice of inspiration. I would say this shirt, honestly, again, I just don't think the colour is that attractive, and the sponsor is very dominant. It's folded in reasonably well. And it should be said that, again, sleeve sponsors, back sponsors, I don't necessarily hate mass sponsors. There's a novelty factor, which I often talk about. But I just think the colourway is not that great, personally. I think where you're going to go, this kind of we'll call it Statue of Liberty blue, Statue of Liberty green rather. I think actually is an interesting colour choice, but I don't think the club colour of the main club colour of the more kind of royal blue, typical blue, that doesn't, I don't think, work that well as a combo. But I think mid to high candle, it's a surprising choice if nothing else. But yeah, not top tip. And let's finish, guys, with Dundalk. Now, this is a brand I don't recognise off the top of my head. Player Fit. Cool. No idea if they're an own brand or what have you. It's funny because it looks like almost like a knockoff Adidas design. In fact, it looks very much like a knockoff Adidas design. To the point where we can say that is a knockoff Adidas design. But it looks bad. Like, I hate to say it, but it just looks like a cheap attempt. The collar as well is what it is, but that also looks reminiscent of many other collars. It's hard. It's hard if you're a new brand. It's hard to kind of innovate. But that just, to me, it just looks like a bad attempt to try and nod to Adidas. Betting sponsor is regrettable, although it's incorporated fine. But I think we have to put this in the Ice Cube tier. References can be fun, and I wonder maybe Dundalk did they have that old Adidas template? Let's check out old football shirts to see. This site is quite useful. But you can see there's a lot of gaps for Dundalk. So, Anyway, yeah. Ending on a bit of a down note. But these guys, I'd probably put on the higher end of the Ice Cube tier. We have seen much better shirts today, though. But that is Dundalk. Let's go down there. That's a bit harsh. We'll go a bit higher. Not much of an upgrade, but there we go. Guys, wow, this giant Red Star shirt that's just disappeared. That is the Hot Wall. So we're caught up. What we're going to do, I think, next week is I'm probably going to record a bit of a summary video to kind of round off the year. So this might be our last Hot Wall stream. I want to do at least one, if not two more eBay streams. So I'll probably try and finish the year. I think 2 more streams on a Tuesday, but I think that'll be it for the Thursday streams. Nice, Andy said into 97. I can think of one. Works a little better than I would imagine on the Chivas shirt. Nice, good shout. But yeah, like as we begin to wrap up, I do just want to say, well, thank you, because this Hot Wall series has been a lot of fun, and we've had, a lot. Like, looking at these shirts, guys, there's so many kits. It's like genuinely. There's been so many teams that I've not even seen before, or barely seen before. Brands which, again, for better or for worse, have put themselves on the map. So many just stories, patterns to digest. I think, if nothing else as well, we've kind of seen, or even just genuinely just doing this as a process has helped me to see kind of a bit more about my tastes and things like that. Andrew says, out of curiosity, what's the file size of that PST? Honestly, I need to check, because it is genuinely massive, because this, these images, I think this is 100% zoom, so but there's like, well, I mean, give or take, there's over 1,000 layers. Now, whether there's 1,000 shirts, I think, there might not be, but Robert says, export the Hot Wall as an image as a Christmas gift for your followers. It's funny because when I promote these streams on Twitter, I do just export the image and as a JPEG. So actually, I've already done it, Robert. But no, next week, at some point, hopefully, if I can get time, I will post a bit of a summary of this year. And I think, honestly, it's a big thing, and it feels like we've reached pretty much the top of the mountain. I think we'll do it all again next year, though, because it really has been, I think, it's taken a lot of time. But I've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it too. Certainly it's been, again, something of a discipline to do it. But, without this, I wouldn't be able to kind of succinctly pick out my top 20 of the year. And oh man, there's a few practical things I could have spaced the shirts out more. But at the same time, it's kind of fun, looking at. I said at the start of the year that I wanted to, to end up looking a bit like one of those NFTs that you see where you've just got a massive collage. The Monarch shot, I forgot, Brock. Let me do that because I did promise I'd do that. Monarchs, is that good? Now, got to find the right shirt. Is it this one, Brock? I'm assuming it's this one. So, what's really cool about this one? It's a My Adidas shirt, which is a template shirt, but it's been customized in a really interesting way. And of course, you can see very clearly the link with Real Salt Lake, which is really nice. The brushstroke effect, we talked about that. I think it actually looks quite good in this application, having it just in the red. So this is honestly like a pretty decent. Like, this is a really good use of My Adidas. Of course, there's things you'd want to see, and if it was a higher ticket, you'd hope to see other details. But long and short, I do think this one is kind of mid-candle tier, and that's not a bad thing at all. Again, things like the colorway obviously going to be dictated, but in that, because it is like a reserve team shirt, which we don't. I'm kind of breaking my usual. I don't typically do reserve shirts, but just for Brock, we're doing it. No, I do think this actually, as a final package, is more than reasonable. So again, we're comparing it to shirts here. I don't think this is out of place. I'm feeling something around this area. Let's go here. Blue Red Hoops, good stuff. The sponsor slots in quantity. It does, Andrew. And again, I'm glad you brought that up. That is these decisions make a difference. So, guys, that'll do it for the Hot Wall. And honestly, as I say, Ballum says, hello everyone, hello everybody. Hope Paz is good. Can you say something for the French viewers? I wish I could say something in French, Ballum. I was so glad I went to Paris with my wife because she speaks fluent French. She was translating for me most of the trip. But what I will say is it was a pleasure to be in Paris, and I really enjoyed especially meeting some of the fans and people around the club and around Red Star. It was a really good experience. And Balance at the start of the World Cup, I said a 1% chance of Argentina-Portugal final. Do you think we'll get an Argentina-Portugal final? I mean, it wouldn't be my prediction. I'd have to check the bracket again to kind of see who could face who. But, I mean, anything can happen in the knockout stages. That's not outrageous. I think, am I right in saying, I'll have to check. Like, Brazil would probably be my favourites, but, all of those teams, in fact, every team that's got through this far has a shot. That's kind of, I think, genuinely, I think it's actually quite open. You look at England, France, that could be a final in itself. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting matchups. But yeah, guys, I'm scrolling through, but this is the Hot Wall. I'll do a bit more of a summary next week to kind of round off the year. I'll probably do that as a pre-recorded thing rather than a stream. But we will have a couple of eBay streams to finish the year. So there we go. Again, we'll see more of that next week. But otherwise, that is it for today's stream. So in the time we've been streaming, it's got very, very dark outside up here in Yorkshire. But yeah, Morocco have been decent. But that is true. Great result for them. I was gutted to see Japan fall, and they actually were quite good against Croatia. But yeah, not very good at penalties. Guys, thank you for your time. It's been great to chat with you. Thanks for your comments, your insight, your corrections on my terrible pronunciations. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I will see you, some of you on Tuesday, hopefully for the eBay stream. And if not, I'll probably chat to some of you on Twitter. Don't forget, if you haven't already, do check out my Red Star video, which is on the channel. I'm sure most of you, if not all, have seen that, but do check it out if you haven't already. But yeah, that'll do it for today's stream. Thanks so much for your time again, and great to hang out. Yeah, all the best. I will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.